Come, Belgarian, child of light, I await thee in the city of night. Hello and welcome to the Friday Fantasy Show from the Bottled Imp, exploring the realms of fantasy. My name is Ken Boyter and today we're going to take a look at the Belgariad, Enchanters End Game. Yes, this is book 5 in a 5-book series written by David Eddings and first published in the UK in 1985 by Corgi Books. So, we've come a long way. Books 1 to 4 we have reviewed. This is book 5, and like all last books or last films in any saga, any series, the big question is, does it wrap up well? You know, like it's a chilly day. Does it wrap up well? Or is it just a damp squib? Let's find out. So, just what is the setup of book 5 in the Belgariad? Stumble over that. The Belgariad. Is that how you pronounce it? Who knows? Watch the reviews 1 to 4 to see how many times I mispronounce that word. So if you have read books 1 to 4, and you probably have because you're watching this is book 5, it'd be a bit weird to watch a review of book 5. If you haven't at least watched the reviews of book 1 to 4, you will know that I don't really give away too many spoilers, but I guess for the setup I have to summarise books 1 to 4. So if you have not read books 1 to 4, look away now. Well, and also turn the volume down or fast forward this bit. Okay, you have been warned. So the setup is that Garion, who is the main protagonist of the series, he has been crowned as Overlord of the West. Hey! He is the rightful descendant of River Iron Grip and the bearer of the Orb of Aldur. You got that? That's kind of basically, you know, so if you don't want to read the books and you have heard that, that's what happened. But there is a prophecy and it's not yet been totally fulfilled. In fact, not only one prophecy, but there's 2 prophecies. And this is what this whole book is about. Which prophecy will be dominant? Which one will prevail? The evil god Torak is awakening once more and must be stopped, or obviously, the entire world will be forever enslaved. So that is the setup. The themes of the book, there are quite a few themes in there, and some, you know, David Eddings does explore fuller than others, and I quite like that, you know, because sometimes you do want to explore one theme more than others. And in this book, yeah, prophecy seems to be one of the main themes that runs through it. Just what is a prophecy? Is it something which can never be changed? Is it always destined to happen? Can prophecies ever be wrong? And I guess if there's 2 prophecies in this one, then yeah, one of them is going to be wrong. And then is it wrong though? Or is it just not happened? So are they possibilities? Is a prophecy a possibility of a future outcome that can be manipulated and can be changed, depending on people's actions and thoughts and behaviour? Also, what is a prophecy in terms of, is it the interpretation? Because there might be a prophecy, but the people that interpret it may interpret it wrong. Who's to say that somebody has actually interpreted these prophecies correctly? So the prophecy might actually play out and happen as it's always meant to happen and it can't be changed, but the way that it's been interpreted, you feel like, oh, it's been changed. But no, you've just interpreted it wrong. So it is a bit complicated what a prophecy actually is. And there was a great description on page 104 and 105, and I wrote it down because I wanted to read it out. So bear with me. It says here, the world determines the event. The word puts limits on the event and shapes it. Without the world, the event is merely a random happening. That's the whole purpose of what you call prophecy. To separate the significant from the random. So it's saying that it's actually to do with order and not chaos. Then but it says on page 334, one character says, prophecy is no more than a trick of the priesthood to maintain its grip on the gullible. So they're just saying actually prophecy isn't real, it's just something that actually is there to control the populace. Now I just want to break there for a second, because if you're hearing drilling in the background, it's because we're having some scaffolding put up on Imp Towers, because we're extending even higher. We're going to see if we can raise dragons, and the only way, where do you keep dragons? You have to keep them high up, don't you, out of the way of people, because they can be pretty dangerous. So we're going to get a dragon landing pad up on Imp Towers. So bear with us while we carry on with the building work. The other theme here is war. So that's quite prevalent right from the start. It's the politics of war. This is what's explored in this book, right, for I'd say a good 200 pages. It's a 444-page book, and about half of it is all about war. It's all about the preparation of war. It's about the politics of war, the scheming and the planning and the preparation for, and in this case, one of the final battles before prophecy is going to be fulfilled. And it also explores the day-to-day problems and the mechanics of war. So it talks about supply. It talks about how the troops can be fatigued. It talks about tactics. It talks about the kind of nitty-gritty side of war and the preparation of war. But it also talks about espionage. It talks about spies. It talks about traitors. It talks about the alliances that you need, because sometimes, obviously, if you're going to go to war, you might not have enough troops, so you would maybe you would team up with the neighbouring empire or kingdom or queendom and actually, form an alliance, or you might break an alliance because you realise that they're on the losing side and you don't want to be on the losing side. So it talks all about that. But it also, which I think is quite a fascinating point of view as well, is the public face of leaders and politicians and kings and queens. They know what's going on behind the scenes. So there's probably a lot of political manoeuvring that goes on that, if they were to say public, would ruin all of their hard work if they're trying to achieve peace through diplomatic means. So you do have the problem of the public, obviously quite rightly, want to know the truth. We want to know what's going on. But sometimes that jeopardises, carefully laid plans that could prevent war. But equally, there could be some underhand things going on that the public should know about, but they don't. They keep hidden, they keep secret. So it is really a fine line of, how much does a politician or leader actually give away to the public, and how much truth do they say, and how much do they have to, out of necessity, keep back from the public, even though it could even go against that sort of belief, but they realise, oh no, actually we do need to keep that back. So it does do a good job of exploring that way of thinking. And I guess we always nowadays we always think, we want the truth, and it's almost like, is that such a good thing? I guess it's all about intention. If the politicians and leaders and kings and queens or whoever is ruling has your interest purely at heart and actually are genuine, then you have to trust them that yes, if they don't tell you the truth for whatever reason, there is a good reason. But it's if you feel that they're corrupt and they're, trying to trick you or trying to, rob you or trying to, they're doing dirty deals as such, then obviously you need the right to know exactly what they're up to. Another theme is gods and goddesses and multi-dimensions as well. And I really like this concept of different realms to sort of what we would call reality. In the book there is the, forgive me for the pronunciation, the Moridum race, who are godless ones who live in a separate realm which is separate from other people. So they don't really talk too much about it, but it does say that it's a demon-haunted place where they worship devils and live more in dreams than they do in reality. So I like that idea of, what are dreams? Because we don't really know. But why couldn't they be as real as our reality? It's just a different reality. And who knows, maybe when they dream in that dream world, they're dreaming of our reality, and they think that our dream world, our reality world, is actually their dream world. They think maybe that's a different reality, if you see what I mean. So one isn't necessarily more real than the other. It's just whichever one you're in would obviously feel like the real reality. Does that make sense? They also say that their domain their society is a domain of dreamers and the magicians. So again, we're seeing that from a point of view of our reality and not the reality of their reality. Hey, how many more times can I say reality? There's also the concept of gods being evil. So Torak is actually a god, and he is a god to two races, the Thals and the Grolims, who are enslaved but nevertheless, they're still a god and they're still worshipped. But it's they're worshipped through fear. So the god actually, you could say, is evil because he's using fear to enslave the two races. And in order to free these people from the slavery, a god needs to be killed. And so that's obviously, how do you kill a god? So that is part of the main quest and the main prophecy as well. Nature is another theme. Using nature and the environment as a weapon. So you weaponize natural forces. Now, the weather is obviously one of the big things that you could actually do. If you turn it into a weapon, you could maybe take a normal storm or rain clouds and whip it up into a storm, and if you put enough power or energy into it, you could create a storm that's controlled, and you can control the wind and the rain, and you can maybe somehow generate hailstones that are bigger than normal, and you can then maybe position that windstorm and hailstorm and the thunder and lightning over a particular, if there's a battle going on, and you could then use the weather in your favour. Is that the perfect weapon? Because people would say, oh, it's just a natural cause. You can't be accused of it. It could be, well, of course we can't control the weather. That's ridiculous. But you can, and maybe you could use it either, not necessarily out and out kill someone with it, but at least to aid you in when you are actually at war, when you're actually in a battle. So it does seem that, and there are, just talking about nowadays, that, there has been a theory that the weather is being controlled. Certain governments, I think the Americans are being accused, I don't know, or the, alternate theories that, yes, it is real, that the weather is being controlled and it is being used as a weapon. Whether or not that's true. I mean, if you had a hurricane, could you then use a hurricane to devastate a city, and cause it, fatalities, unfortunately, and also massive financial ruin? Again, if you can control a wind, and maybe you could create a tsunami that devastates an island and causes, fatalities, and also devastates it, culturally as well as financially, then yeah, that's got to be one of the perfect weapons, because you could say, well, that's just a natural cause. So it does touch on that theme of nature as a weapon. And also, one of the themes is love. And love is not necessarily in a romantic love, it's more of it actually delves into the effects of the absence of love. What happens when a sentient being is deprived love? Is it just enough when we grow up to have food and water and, I guess, education and a roof over our head? Do you also need love? Do you need that outpouring of love? Do you need hugs? I know it sounds all very corny and sentimental, but what is the effects if that love isn't given? And I think, there's obviously something to be said about that. If you have a pet and you neglect it and you don't show it love, it gets very stressed. It gets very, it has anxiety. It can, it needs love. It's almost like love is one of the natural requirements that any sentient being would actually need. So it does ask the question, do you need love like you would water and food? And what are the effects if the absence of love is there? Does it make us bitter and twisted and resentful? Or can we override that? Can you actually, even though you felt like you were neglected maybe as a child, can you say, well, that was a child, I'm drawing a line, that doesn't affect me now? Can you override the absence of love? So is it really true what the Beatles, sang about? All you need is love. Is that all we need? Obviously, I think you do need food and water and stuff like that. But yeah, it poses a good question of the absence of love. So overall, yes, I did find it a satisfying end of the series. They did, David Eddings, and I believe his wife, I think his wife is called Lee, she is also said to have written a lot of this book, or had a big influence in this series as well. And they did a good job. I wasn't disappointed. There is always the way things get wrapped up, because I think it's really important. If you've been on a journey, certainly if you've read books 1 to 4, and I think each book's about 400 pages, so that's, it's a reasonable-sized novel. You've gone on a big journey, it's an epic quest. You want a really satisfying ending, and I would say yes, there is that satisfying ending. My only reservation is the first 100 pages, maybe 150 pages, when they talk about the war and they're gathering alliances, and all that preparation. that could have been a lot shorter for me. I did find that dragged on a little bit, and I was losing a bit of interest. It might have been because I had a bit of a break from reading book 4 to book 5. I didn't read them totally back to back or even within months. I think a year might have passed since I've read this, so I have to look back at the review. But I just felt, oh, hang on, it feels like it was starting again rather than a continuation of book 4. So I felt that, yeah, if he'd cut that down to maybe 50 pages, just to get a flavour of it, and then cracked on with the sort of the prophecy side of it. Because when they went to battle, when they all started marching off and they were going, right, this is the end game, we're definitely, we're going to meet the enemy, we're going to sneak, well, they try and sneak up on the enemy, and you want that, there's that sense of, yeah, it's coming, it's coming. When they were marching, yes, that's when it started to get exciting for me, and that's when it really kicked off. And also when because it kind of, Garion and Wolf, what's his name? I can't remember now. Sorry. The main characters anyway that are after the prophecy. That's really interesting, but you lose them. They disappear from the novel. They're off doing something else, and they focus on the marching war. I wanted a bit more of that as well, because after all, they're the main characters. I've been with those for books 1 to 4. So when we get back to that, definitely it really becomes satisfying ending. So you can't ask for more than that, really, that you want a nice satisfying conclusion. And it isn't cheesy, the ending. It isn't, it's not a massive surprise. There was a bit of a twist, but I don't think everything needs a shock horror twist, as an ending. I think if everything just ties up neatly and is satisfying, that is enough, and that's what happened. So there is a bit of a twist, and it wasn't out of place. I thought, yeah, okay, I buy into that, and that's what you're trying to do. They're trying to create a believable ending, and they did it very, very well. So yes, if you are humming and hawing, I mean, if you've read books 1 to 4, you probably will be reading book 5 anyway. But if you're humming and hawing, I would say go for it. Maybe skip, but watch out for the first 100 pages. Is a little bit ploddy, but then after that it really kicks off. So there we go. That is book 5 of the Belgariad. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. As I say, we have reviewed books 1 to 4. And also we've done loads of other reviews as well, other fancy book reviews, so you can check them out. But we've also done fancy film reviews, fancy board game reviews. We've also done other little imp extras as well, where Julian and I, we watch a fancy film. We don't, might not have seen it, and we kind of comment on it. It might be good, it might be terrible. They're normally terrible. But anyway, so check those out. They're a lot of fun. We've got all sorts of different things on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, click the little bell and you will get notified of every time we upload and post a video. We've also got a Facebook group, which is the Bottled Imp Fellowship. So if you search for that on Facebook, click join and we will add you in. Plus we've got a Twitter account, and we've also got an Instagram account. So just follow us, the Bottled Imp. Yes, help us, Obi-Wan, you're our only hope. We have just tipped over, I know it's not a big deal, but we've just tipped over to 6,000 subscribers. So every little helps, as a well-known supermarket chain once said. Until the next time, remember to keep it unreal, especially if you know about the prophecy.